Good morning and welcome to our daily devotional from Pilgrim Congregational Church. I'm Patrick Horn. Very glad to have you with us on this Tuesday, April the 11th, 2023, as we continue our look at the epistle of 1 Peter, and we're in chapter 1 this week, beginning the study of 1 Peter. In fact, I invite you to Bible study tonight at 5:45 when I will do a kind of brief introduction to the epistle as we study this passage from chapter 1. So I mentioned yesterday that this is a very encouraging letter. This is a letter that very much participates in the season of Easter, the celebration of the resurrection of the new life. The letter was written for a very broad audience and was intended to offer encouragement to those who identified themselves as Christians in the early church. And so this morning I'd like for us to focus on two of our verses from the passage this week. This is 1 Peter chapter 1, verses 3 and 4. 3, 4, and 5. Blessed be the God and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ. By his great mercy, he has given us a new birth into a living hope through the resurrection of Jesus Christ from the dead, and into an inheritance that is imperishable, undefiled, and unfading, kept in heaven for you, who are being protected by the power of God through faith, for a salvation ready to be revealed in the last time. Well, when we read these verses, we don't hear anything that's particularly striking. These are sort of common Christian terms and phrases that we have come to recognize through years of Bible study and attendance in church, and so very sort of common words. These are words of praise, that is, they begin as a praise. Blessed be the God and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ. So, and then an expression of of our dependence upon God through Jesus Christ. But I think there may be a way to break these verses down a bit, that is, to analyze them in a way that might bring out things that we hadn't noticed before, or perhaps remind us of things that we had forgotten, or certain things that we sort of take for granted in the religious language, in the sort of churchy language we may miss. And here, I think there are a couple of things. One thing that's very interesting about verse 3 is that the phrase that's translated in the translation I read from as new birth, this is literally born again. And this is the only time this phrase is actually used in the New Testament. We think of being born again as a very common sort of term that lots of Christians use to speak of a conversion experience. And there are other passages which are close to this idea of being born again, but this is actually the only place in the New Testament where it explicitly says that God has given us a new birth, that is, that we have been born again. And what we've been born again into is a living hope through the resurrection of Jesus Christ from the dead. So, remember that Peter is writing to a group of early church members, early converts, and this would have been a risky undertaking for many of them. That is, to begin to commit themselves to a way of living that would have been in the minority, that would have been seen as foolish and strange. And so Peter is encouraging them in this letter, and the encouragement has to do with the fact that we live in a world that has suffering and challenge and difficulty, but because of Jesus Christ, we're able to live in this world with faith and with hope. And in verse 4, to remind us that what we value now in this relationship with God through Christ is an inheritance that cannot be corrupted by moths or by rust. And so this is an imperishable, it's unfading. These are heavenly values that we have now committed ourselves to and are stored up for us. And so the Epistle of Peter is an attempt to get us to see how living in this world of current challenges, current difficulties, and having us to focus on things that are of heavenly value. And that in verse 5 that we have this through faith. We learned about the faith of Abraham a few weeks ago, about faithful living, about how this is a verb, how we give ourselves to this way of living, and the success or achievement that we have there, our salvation does not depend upon. That is, we are saved by God's mercy, not by how successful we are, and yet we give ourselves to this faith and we live in this hope of values that are eternal. So, very encouraging word of hope, of keeping the faith, of staying in the faith, and living faithfully from 1 Peter. Let's close with this word of prayer from W.E. Orchard. O God, who art so near that nearer thou cannot be, whose spirit mingles with our own as sunshine in the air, even this does not content us unless we can feel thy presence and see thy light and look upon thy face. We know thou art in our minds, yet thou art always a step beyond our thoughts, and we long to speak with thee as friend with friend. In the stillness of the chamber, under the silence of the stars, we know thou art, but oh, that thou couldst call us as a mother calls her child. We believe thou art near, for suddenly our hearts grow still, heavenly thoughts stir within the mind. In sad and lonely hours we smile and know not why. But oh, that we could feel thee like the wind upon our cheeks, like the tide about the shore, like a hand within our own. We could understand thy love if it were warm with our own humanity. We could even dare to love thee if thou wouldst clothe thyself in our frail form. We could trust ourselves to life if thou couldst consent to walk our ways, endure our sorrows, and taste the bitterness of death. Amen. Thank you so much for joining me this morning from Pilgrim Congregational Church. I'm Patrick Horn, and I hope that you have a very good day. Goodbye.